live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program mega worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
Welcome to the show, everybody. What a crazy week it has been. I gotta say, last week we had an accidental F-bomb dropped by Johnny Million, and I gotta say there's a high chance of the accidental ones of those. I would stick a thumb on that dump button if I was our lovely folks in Chicago right now. Dylan, I think, is working the board, just hover.
Drop the F-bomb?
No, I just think it can happen anywhere at any time because there are so many WTF stories all at once.
Fair.
Yeah. So many of them. Oh my gosh. Okay, so if people haven't been following along, the latest in the Elon Musk Donald Trump feud that's been going back is that that Elon Musk deleted his time to drop the big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's why they haven't been released. Have a nice day, DJT. Mark this tweet. The truth will come out. Like that's so. I'm not even reading that. I'm literally reciting it from memory. Fairly close to verbatim because ba-boom, right? Because of the nuclear aspect of it, or as Trump and George, I guess W. Bush would say, nuclear. Yeah, nuclear is nuclear. Practice that, nuclear. Well, it wasn't so much a walk back. I gotta say, no, not at all. The new tweet that has filled its space. I'm showing it on the live stream at infotainmentwars.com. We've got everything memorized, so we don't need the documents. Elon Musk, I will apologize profusely as soon as there is a full dump of the Epstein files. This was last night at like a little before 10 o'clock. Oops. So there was this, I gotta say, there was this big, like, I think maybe, I don't know how much time before, like maybe a half hour before, he took the other one down. And everybody's like, oh God, thank God he's walking it back and they're gonna make up and all this stuff. And then he hit with this one probably right after somebody tried to broker a call between him and Trump wouldn't take the call.
I heard that they were going to have a call. That didn't happen?
No, it did not. Apparently, it's new to everyone that Trump holds a grudge and values himself over everyone else in the entire world.
New to everyone.
Yes, right. So over the last couple of days, as this has spilled out, we have seen a great wailing and gnashing of teeth in Magatdom about whether or not this is my favorite. I think my favorite theory. Theories abound. Oh dear, theories abound. That it was originally, and this was thrown about by a bunch of people, including on Newsmax, the most miserable man on the internet, Greg Kelly. A man who, no matter how good the news is for Donald Trump, always is miserable, which is kind of one of the lovely things to watch there. Rob Schmidt, and I can't call him what I normally call him on my live stream, who's on I think OAN or one of these like that third tier right wing networks. All of them have ran with initially, and especially this guy Carl Higbie, who I always call Carl Higbie Sellers because of the Big Lebowski. Brandon, he has health problems. Anyways, so he was like, the day this happened, they're like, here's my theory. It's all a big plot that they worked out together. That Trump and Musk have been working on this for months. That, like, if you think the Ukrainian drone strike was intricate and well-timed and full of complexity, they got nothing on this bizarre pseudo-fake feud to allow I don't know what to happen on behalf of who. I don't know who the winner is and all this. I mean, come on. So anyways, their first one is this is all.
It sure makes both of them look good.
Oh, it makes them look great. And the next day, there were a bunch of them going, okay, I was wrong. This is a real fight. Nobody just half dumps that you're in the Epstein files with the implication that we know that he was friends with Epstein for a long time, but there's something more in them, because that's what really that tweet, that drop was about, right? It wasn't just that he's in there. The guy was Epstein's wingman for at least 10 years of the 25 years they were friends, and they only, I gave me says Cash Patel is burning the Epstein files right now. The problem is, and we'll get to this in just a moment, because I think the thing I have pointed out, and I don't know why it has not cascaded across the entire media sphere, and it will. Trust me, it will. There were a couple of shots across the bow the day after I brought it up, because you're welcome, that Trump is surrounded by Musk's operatives. All around him, in every department, these Doge guys have been put in place to help carry out the Doge mission or whatever, but they work at the, they always say about like cabinet secretaries, they serve at the pleasure of the president. These guys all serve at the pleasure of Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and that crowd, because that's where their gig is after all this is over. None of these guys want to be lifelong public servants. None of these went into it with this idea that they're going to be a senator one day. They want to make bank. So and hitching a wagon to Trump after he's out of office is not wise. No, not going to happen. So I'm going to play a piece of audio from a guy named Steven Chowder. And Steven Chowder, he was one of these right wing guys. For some people may know that he's kind of in the Glenn Beck realm of things, and but he does most of his show on Rumble, which is not allowed in half of Europe because of who runs it and the rules about how much racism they'll allow on Rumble. Like the European Union, especially Germany, is like, we'll pass, right? Because again, they don't have a First Amendment. A lot of those countries, they just don't. So let me, and this is, he's he's got 5.6 million subscribers on his channel. He's got 115,000 views on this video that was from 19 hours ago. And I want you to tell me whether or not you think that this can be patched up.
He was never a free speech guy, and he is still not a free speech guy.
Speaking of Musk.
He said that the man you elected was a pedophile, and he still hasn't walked it back.
By the way, this is before he doubled down on it. This is before he removed that tweet and added another one.
Let that wolf back in the gates.
Don't let that wolf.
It's like the most valuable thing, and we're going to
back in the gates. That's the key.
Is that a saying?
I guess Fox in the hen house, something along those lines. Yeah. I don't think it's. I think you get it. Like, it doesn't have to be a colloquialism. You absolutely know what he means, and this is. Regardless of what people in the patchwork media around Trump, which is, by the way, I like Newsmax and largely Fox and others are what I would call like the spackle media for the Trump agenda. Anytime he pokes a totally unnecessary hole that he's just made of his own failure or flaws, their job is to spackle it shut. Nope. That's their gig now, right? And so the idea that the one and the viewership, I would argue, for shows like Crowder's and others is far higher than even the 5, let's say. Now, people in times of worry always turn to mainstream media, no matter what these guys say about them getting better numbers. That's because they count their numbers in a different way. And you can flip on your TV and see them at any time, whereas these guys, you have to kind of seek them out. Unless you're already a subscriber, it's not going to drift across your the kind of stuff you watch, especially if you're against it. Whereas if you're watching CNN, you can flip over to Fox and see what they're saying and flip back. And, people do it all the time. But when it comes to the internet, there are fiefdoms, right? And in the Magat fiefdom right now, there is a huge panic going on because you do not walk back something like that. And there was this, like I
No.
said, a breath of I got to tell you, Johnny Million. If I think if either of us said something like that about the other in seriousness in public, that's a relationship ending that never comes back. Never.
Nope.
Right? Now, I obviously joke about you being part of a cabal and, obviously heading your own coven. And I love your robe.
Truth is said in jest.
That's true. That's right. Yeah. And so this is, there is just, I think there was a belief that up till the point he dropped that big bomb that they were going to walk it back. Now, there are a bunch of people who are, by all measure, morons who think that he can walk this back and that they will patch this up. I don't know how you could, even after that first one. Now, after he has tweeted out, I will apologize profusely as soon as there is a full dump of the Epstein files. And again, there can never be a full dump of the Epstein files because there are always going to be redacted files about some things, right? So he and Elon Musk knows this. So the key in all of this, and I think the part that is probably panicking maggots everywhere in and out of the White House, is that Donald Trump is surrounded by Doge operatives that have been put in place by Elon Musk, and they have access to everything. All of us were concerned, and I think rightly so, about their access to our personal data as Americans. But these guys definitely have a priority. And if you're on the enemies list, they will go after your info first. And Donald Trump jumped to the top of Musk's list. And the question is, we got to take a break. We come back. The question is, can Trump extract the Doge warriors, the Doge bags, the Doge soldiers that are planted all over his battlefield? Or can he do it at all? Much less can he do it without, upending his entire agenda. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Now with 100% more, Johnny Million. It's Johnny Million on Fridays on Twitch and YouTube. I'm just saying. We'll be back.
Me.
And then happy Pride Month also to everybody on our way out the door. And I don't know if we're at break yet because I don't hear the break music, so I'll just pretending it. Here you go. Here's some break music, Johnny. Happy Pride, everybody. We'll be back. Dylan, are we in break?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. I just couldn't hear the transition
I don't
music.
believe you.
It seems you only have a 30-second one as well. Are you cool with that?
Oh, that's fine. Yes, I am cool with that. I'm very cool with that.
All right, for sure. All right, well, then we come back in 15 seconds.
Excellent. All right. This is where is it? Is it this one? Yeah, this was so funny.
Back to the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back to the show. By the way, you're missing out if you don't subscribe to my YouTube channel at infotainmentwars.com. And just go to @infotainmentwars on YouTube. That'll take you to my channel, and you can subscribe there and help the show out, help us grow, because we got to start competing on the level with these other guys on these social media sites. So if you're on YouTube at all and you got an account on there, please subscribe today to Infotainment Wars. Just look it right up. It's @Infotainment Wars. That's how they do it now on YouTube. Do it. Stop whining. You lack discipline. So one of the obviously, Johnny Million. This is we were all clamoring, I think, and I think. Oh, by the way, do you know that Kash Patel was on Joe Rogan's show when he found out?
I heard about this about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. So this is, I gotta say, this is rather glorious. And by the way, coming up at the half-hour mark, our dear friend Brian Karum, who I did a sort of an interview roundtable a comedy event with him and Tom Arnold that was fantastic. He did a special called The First 100 Days, and it was nice to be a part of that. Saw Brett and some of the other guys from Midas Touch came down. It was really fantastic. But this is the moment.
Seemed to be in a bit of a spat, Joe.
Hold on, they're just breaking in on him.
Like that.
Since we were talking about fake news, this is going to come up because it's been going on since we've been recording here. Elon and Trump seem to be in a bit of a spat, Joe. You want to
A bit of a spat.
check the tweet that Elon just put out a little bit ago?
Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Jesus Christ.
I'm not participating in any of that conversation
What
between
is he?
Elon and
Have a
Trump.
nice day, DJT. Someone should take his phone away.
They're going back and forth.
By the way, what a fascist thing to say, Joe Rogan. I see. The guy says
Someone
one
should
thing
take his
you
phone
don't like,
away.
and someone should take his phone away. He's a grown man. He's the richest man in the world. How dare you, sir? So yeah, and if you heard that other voice in that was Kash Patel saying, "I'm not going anywhere near that."
Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Jesus Christ.
I'm not participating in any of that conversation
What is
between
he?
Elon
Have a
and Trump.
nice day, DJT. Someone should take his phone away.
They're going back and forth about different things, and
Yeah. Listen,
Well, he said he was disappointed in Elon.
Things.
yeah,
Yeah.
they told him to leave.
Jesus Christ, that's a crazy thing to say. How does he know? Does he know that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? Does he have access to the Epstein
just-
files?
And by the way, Kash Patel just went, "I don't know." That was his response.
Yeah.
Does he know that he's in there? I don't know. You're the head of the FBI.
Yeah,
you
should
know, dummy. Guess what? You know. If anybody knows, you know. It doesn't take much of a scan on any of this stuff with the facial recognition stuff that the FBI has and with the standard word search in any document. You absolutely know. And if you're going, I don't know, like, what a dodge. Now, I don't know how much. Yeah, hold on.
I don't know how he would, but I'm just staying out of the Trump Elon thing. That's way outside
What
my
the
lane.
fuck are they
That's-
doing?
Whoa, sorry, that was bomb. Sorry, my bad.
Oh,
Sorry.
you were right.
I was right. I tried to get out before he said it, but so
You nailed it.
I did. I knew there would be one.
know
I'm
my
sorry.
lane, and that ain't it.
I just
We're
don't.
back. Hold on. So there we go. I cut that out. And that's the problem with going to those kind of things. Sorry
It
about
wasn't
that, Chicago.
me.
It wasn't you. It probably will be though. But there was a definite F-bomb in there, and I gotta say, a spontaneous admission kind of F-bomb, because this is a major thing. Like it's kind of embarrassing how MAGA is trying to turn this into a game, or trying to use their standard deflection tools to fix this for him. Now, I had an article up here a second. Let me find it again. But one of the keys that I think a lot of people worried about, and I brought this up a little bit ago, that not only does he have these people, placed throughout the government, right? That Elon Musk has these folks that are there. We all know that, like, I showed on multiple situations, and if you're watching on the live stream, you've seen me hold up like devices that I've had, like a Raspberry Pi or a small NVIDIA like single board computer, that with a magnet, if nobody's checking your stuff because you somehow have a KMA pass, a kiss my behind pass to walk into the White House, and nobody checks your bag, which none of the Doge guys have to go through, because that Trump's people wave them through. All you got to do is walk in with one of those things, a magnet and a receiver, a Wi-Fi receiver on it, and slap it under a desk somewhere that no one, either somebody will guarantee no one looks on purpose, or will move it when they do a sweep and then put it back. You can just do it on your own desk, right? Okay.
Sure.
So and why is that a concern? Well, because there are entire James Bond movies where people die for that kind of access, where agents and counter agents are killed trying to put something in. And last time, when Trump was in office the first time, he had the Russians come in there, and then he had them in there closed doors with their translators, not our translators, no note takers, and all this kind of stuff. And everybody was like, "Did you sweep for bugs after you left, moron? After they left, moron? Because, or do you want them to know what's going on? You promised them this kind of access, right? You want them to have, a recording of everything that's going on, or they insist, and if you don't, something worse will happen, right? Okay, so, but even that is sort of an internal thing. Like, it's like, I don't know if you ever saw, do you ever see the movie Jumpin' Jack Flash, Johnny Million, with Whoopi Goldberg?
What, your Whoopi Goldberg lore is humbling.
I gotta confess to a Whoopi Goldberg crush around the burglar era. And her Broadway, her Broadway show, I was just enamored and impressed. If you've never seen her original Broadway show, how she broke onto the scene and the story she tells about the girl who gives herself an abortion and can't have children anymore, and it starts out funny and it just gets heartbreaking. So amazing, right? So, and then right about the time when she did, Burglar, I was just like, she's pretty. Like I had a genuine, I was all in on
what was that movie
on that
that she did where it was one of the so many of them was Mary Who's-Its who was wasting away.
Mary Who's-It who was wasting away. Yeah. That's Brian Karum in the background. Hang on for a second. It was Mary Who's wasting away. That's okay. Mary Who's wasting away?
I don't remember her name. I'm going to IMDb this and figure it out. But she sang like an a cappella version of Anything You Want. Are
you going, like, is it the one where she's a nun, or the choir movies or whatever? Like, that was where she was part of it?
No, it's not one of those. It's like a lesbian drama.
Sister Act. People were saying that's why they thought you were talking about. I agree. I thought they were talking about Sister Act.
I'm going to find it. I will find it.
Brian Karum will be joining us in the next segment after the next break. But here's I want to, and I'll bring up part of this too with him, because this is a man who's been in and around the White House, so he would know specifically about things like this. But anyways, Whoopi had this in the movie Jumpin' Jack Flash. She becomes this. She acts on behalf of this spy who's trying to get an exit, pass to get him out of. He's trapped in an Eastern European country, undisclosed, but probably Russia. And she's got to sneak in and attach this device that is a relay. She's basically got to plug a relay in, and she doesn't know how any of this works. And she goes in pretending to be a performer and does bless you. He's allergic to Whoopi Goldberg plot points. Anyway, so she goes in there and her dress gets caught in the shredder and it turns from a regular dress into a mini skirt. Remember that part? And anyways, this part though, the whole story is predicated on her sneaking into this ball, sneaking past these guards, getting into a room, and attaching this relay to the computer systems in the embassy, right? There are 15 to 20 of these things in the White House right now, guaranteed, in every Doge desk. I myself, with the limited computer knowledge that I have in terms of programming, without the help of ChatGPT, which would make it a lot easier, I could craft up one of these things in an afternoon. And if I had access and I could toss that into one of these rooms, I would be able to listen in on every communication that goes through there. Imagine what these guys who are actual programmers that know Musk and have gamed this out at his offices before he gave them access to the White House. It's insane. And so when we come back, the White House is suddenly nervous about Starlink being on the top of the White House. And when you hear why, it's a gorgeous thing. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Brian Karum will be joining us right after this.
Yay!
All right, so let me go to me
It's
solo.
called Boys on the Side.
Hold on. I'll add him
And Mary
to the
Louise
right.
Parker was the one
And then go to
wasting away.
2 guests, and there he is. I always have to move stuff around. Hey, hey, there you go. I gotta move Johnny around in this window because it's always a thing I have to do when he's there. Wait, hold on.
Oh, should I have my sunglasses?
I think so. Always.
Just to hide all the circles under my eyes.
Right.
Oh,
Well, you've
yeah.
been.
Well, I mean, that's why I
Too
wear
much
a
time in
hat.
the White House.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if
Coming
you. Thank you. So I'll arrange you. You can make yourself comfortable, and I'll if you want to. I think you're fairly well
Welcome
centered.
back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back to the show. So joining us right now on the show is my dear friend Brian Karum, and Johnny Million is still with us. And Brian Karum, of course, who Donald Trump calls Playboy because he wrote for Playboy, and Trump gives you these, nickname things based on the single detail he can remember about you. And it's no shock that that's the one thing that Trump would lock onto. Let me first grab your take on the current kerfuffle and whether they can put this toothpaste back in the tube, Brian Karum. And then, and again, we've already had one accidental Rogan F-bomb in playing clips because this is such a WTF kind of a moment in American politics that I try and corral that in. Okay, here we go.
Well, let's see. You want to talk about Brokeback White House? Is that what we're talking about?
Apparently they can quit him, right?
Yeah.
Apparently so.
Well, the funny part about that is that Donald Trump, out of all the people on the planet, picked the only other person on the planet as narcissistic as him to have a romance with. Both of them have huge problems. Of course, they can put the toothpaste back in the tube. If they have, it'll boil down to whether or not there's something they have a mutual interest in. And at that point in time, Donald Trump and Elon Musk will meet at the White House. They'll have another event in the Oval Office. They'll hug, they'll kiss, they'll make up, and they'll go on about their business. But there are two things that would prevent that. One, if Donald Trump finds that Elon Musk has been supporting Democratic candidates, or if in fact he does actively engage in trying to submarine Donald Trump rather than just words. Because remember, J.D. Vance at one point in time said Donald Trump was despicable and compared him to Hitler. And now he's his vice president.
Okay, yeah. So I've heard that argument across the Magat sphere. And my only issue with that is there's a difference between the abstract use of the word Nazi, which was thrown around and they were able to kind of water it down so it meant almost nothing because it became such a standard pejorative, that you could it was like a wash. He could be America's Hitler was the idea. And that's very watery. Saying he's in the Epstein files and then following it up. I don't know if you saw this, but he took down the tweet. And then he put up a new one that says, I'll do a full-throated apology when they have a full dump of the Epstein files, which is a double down, I would argue.
It is a double down. And look, let's be honest. Everybody kind of knew he was in the I mean, this comes from inside his circle, so that's why it's more important. That's why it's more insulting. That's right. And that's why it means more, because all of us outside know that he's been. Well,
we know he hung with them. They were best friends. They were wingmen. All that kind of stuff. But the implication is that there's more about him in the files than we already know. Right? That's what that means. It doesn't just mean that or he would have written, I think, something like, "You guys all know he's in the Epstein files." Blah blah blah. Like he would have led off with something like that. I mean, I don't want to read too much into it because the dude's a ketamine freak and he's on any number of things, right? Right.
But at the end of the day, they're both very transactional individuals. And if there's something in their mutual interest that could make them money, then you might find them shaking hands at the end of the day. So that's under the condition. That's the condition under which they could put the toothpaste back in the tube. Until then, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Because the one thing that you don't know, that we don't know, is exactly what Elon Musk has on Donald Trump. And if he gets PO'd enough, like maybe fixing elections, like maybe,
right. That's what I mean. I think there's one thing he has that stands out to me as a detail. He has everything, because that's what it means to have these Doge operatives in every place. Now, there was an article in the Washington Post that stood out to me, and they finally, I think, recognized what was going on in this situation. White House security staff warned Musk's Starlink is a security risk. Like it so reeks of one of those like now a warning, right? Those moments, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They knew this going on. So there's a couple of things I want to point out, and I want to get your response to this. So, obviously they're getting inside there. It could not be verified whether the rooftop terminal remains installed or if they took it down after this dust up. And there's a very strong possibility. But in February, a Starlink guest Wi-Fi network appeared on White House phones. If you were in, I guess, the press room and all that kind of stuff, you could look on it, and it did not require anything but a password. You didn't have to have a username. You didn't have to. If anybody had that password, which means if everybody has that password, that's all you needed. And they couldn't track who you were, which is the key. So traditionally at the White House, it goes through this thing. Here's the thing. This is the part that stood out to me when I read it. It was rather shocking. Okay. Starlink doesn't require anything. It allows you to transmit data without any kind of record or tracking. White House IT systems have very strong controls on network access. You had to be on a full funnel VPN at all times. If you're not on the VPN, the White House issued devices cannot connect to the outside. A full tunnel VPN. True. Then, with a Starlink connection, that means White House devices could leave the network and go out through gateways. It's going to help you bypass security.
Yes.
That was the sort of the key issue. The communication restrictions set by the Pentagon's Defense Information System Agency are severe, and only approved devices can access official resources, and they have extensive security software installed to guard against attacks, to monitor any digital traffic leaving the building. That didn't stop Pete Hegseth from copy-pasting stuff that was that was on his work computer, because he had Signal installed on there and then ran basically an outside phone line into his office, like snaking an Ethernet cable across your apartment because your roommate's hogging the Wi-Fi, right? That's what that is.
Of course, that's what it is. So, look, I've been in there in the White House where you can't get in otherwise except through their network. Yeah, that's frightening, isn't it? And the sad part is they find out about it afterwards. Well, hello. To your point, Michael Cohen, who I interviewed yesterday, and his former fixer, Michael said that this relationship between the two of them is irrevocably broken.
Agreed.
And he said, more importantly, he said when he was, Trump's fixer, he knew where all the bodies were buried because he had buried them. He said, what I didn't have and what I don't have is Elon Musk's expertise in electronics and in media. So I can't tell you where the bodies are anymore, but Elon Musk can. So that's the big difference between the two fixers. Elon Musk has all the ability to not only gather the information, but keep the information and use the information to whatever ends he wants to use them. That is the frightening part. There's no way around that. So
and how do you strip it out? How do you strip it out now without it being we know that Trump has no shame, but he can be embarrassed. And there is there still are the mechanical workings of our government that exist where, if you're going to remove people from their position, you're going to fire them. You have to fire them at cause, right?
Right.
And if you can't say what that cause is, I guess in national security stuff, you can just go shoo like they did with Hegseth's, bros when they, dusted them off. But I don't know how you yank all these guys out. They're everywhere.
Well, I don't think you can. And that again is a problem. But, and then going back to the split between the two of them, Miles Taylor, the guy who penned the anonymous letter, and is now being investigated for being a traitor because of Donald Trump, said he too says that this is the end of the bromance, and he says the split between the two of them could give some light into the GOP so that they could maybe change their mind and not back Donald Trump. But the big fear, the huge fear, is that he's got I don't want to use the F-bomb. He's got stuff on everybody.
Yes,
he's got enough on everybody that he can blackmail anybody. And that's
so if you're Chip Roy
forward.
or you're one of these, you're on his side basically in this fiscal, that's part of this divide, you might see Republicans turning on, Trump a little bit. Right. But not because they actually, are more suddenly regained their fiscally conservative footing, but because Musk has dirt on them.
Well, it just amounts to another master inside the sock puppet. Instead of Donald Trump, doing the sock puppet, it's going to be Elon. That's a real fear. And I can't speak to that because I don't know, and no one knows what the hell Elon Musk has.
Yeah.
But we do know,
including Trump.
Yeah, but we do know. What we do know is that the Supreme Court gave him access to Social Security data. So that tells you right there. That man's got a lot on anybody he wants.
Yeah, and then we obviously were all raising the alarms about the Doge guys having access to people's Social Security numbers, to all their data and that kind of stuff. And I predict you're going to see a rising level of concern on the Reich about the access that they have, all of a sudden deciding to care about this, right?
Well, you're already seeing seeds of that. There are already people. But listen, you've heard that. Here's the difference, and this is what hacks me off about most Republicans and most Democrats, for that matter, is they'll tell you stuff that truly bothers them off the record or on background.
Right.
The key is to get their stupid, scary, spineless, wormy little carcasses out in front of the camera to say it, so that the people who follow them across the country and have the critical thinking ability of a caterpillar to understand what the threats are. There are still people in MAGA who believe that Donald Trump has lowered the price of gas, increased the economy, and is now the envy of the world, when none of that is true.
Right.
So if one of these people in the Republican Party who has a mouth, none of them have a spine, but has a mouth, like you've already seen that with Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, "Gosh, I should have read the bill." You idiot! You should read all the bills.
Yeah. Well, they suspended the 72-hour rule, or the 72-hour rule on passage to give everybody time to read it. Specifically for this bill, they literally passed it in the middle of the night. They were adding provisions as they were voting on it. In the middle of the night. Like everything they say Democrats do, they were actively doing during this, like the passing of the bill. It's stunning. And I guess,
it's typical.
But like maggots just shrug it off. It's so bizarre. That part is
bizarre. It's all about the power, baby. It's hey, they did it, it's wrong. If we do it, it's right.
Well, you can lie for Jesus if you're, because you're on the side of good, right? That's always been the thing, is that they lie because they're trying to get something evil done. We lie because we're trying to get something good done, and therefore that makes it okay. Instead of just going, hey, how about just nobody lie? How about we all deal with the uncomfortable truths and all of this stuff and move on? We're coming up on a break, but the fact that like Kash Patel heard about this live while he was on Rogan's podcast. J.D. Vance was on Theo Vaughn's podcast. Their only long-form interviews of the month. Oh, yeah, I know, Johnny. Johnny just, passed Theo Vaughn's show through his colon. Right.
Sorry, Brian. That's involuntary.
Yeah, on Theo Vaughn's podcast.
Sounds like to be in the press room.
That's right. Oh, God. Right. On Theo Vaughn's podcast, this happened, right? And the response from Vance was predictably nothing. He said, I hope that eventually Elon comes back into the fold. Maybe that's not possible now because he's gone so nuclear. Like, it's almost like you spliced two arguments like 6 hours apart.
Yeah.
Right? Into one sentence as it happened in front of you. You know what I mean? Like it's like a thought that he had earlier that morning that he intended to say had to be CRISPR genetically fused to the moment, right? As that other one came out. And
I wish the Zeppelin would miss the tower. Oh gosh. Maybe we can put it back together.
The humanity, right? So and it goes, there was an issue. It goes, look, Vance said, look, it happens to everybody. I've flown off the handle way worse than Elon Musk did in the last 24 hours. Yeah, I don't think that's true at all. Like, I don't know.
He hasn't left the handle since he joined the handle. He flew off before,
right?
And the Hitler comments and stuff. But he's been a good little lapdog since he joined, making sure that he puts on his tattooed eyeliner every morning and stays away from the seat cushions in the sofa. But the frustrating part about all of that, when you sit down and look at it, is that they don't grasp the scope of what it is they're dealing with. They never have. Yeah. And they don't do it on an international stage. They don't do it on the national stage. And they sure don't understand Elon Musk. Elon Musk played him, bought him, rented him, and spit him back out. And he's a pretty dangerous guy.
Yeah, but, and he's got fish hooks in the entire White House administration. And Trump's entire administration is just full of fish hooks that Elon Musk put there. And like pulling them out is going to be ugly and going to leave a scar. We got to take a break. We'll come back with more with Brian Karum and Johnny Million after this. I don't know if the chat has got questions for Brian since we have you here. But if they do, Johnny will field them for us. We'll be back right after this. Don't forget, at Infotainment Wars on YouTube. And of course, Brian Karum has a Substack and you should subscribe to it. I'm just saying. All right.
Well, thank you. Yes. I'll take that.
We'll be back. Hold on, let's see if let's try to move this to here. Where is it? On the couch, make it move side to side. It's my hit song, Couch Humpin'.
Take it higher, can't reach.
Sorry. The only thing AI music is good for is making stupid songs that will upset MAGA. That's the only thing they're good for. They're great at it.
Well, that's pretty easy to do.
Yes, it is. Thank you. They're very sensitive. Yeah.
I want to know who's going to pick him up from soccer practice with mommy and daddy arguing.
Oh, it's going to be bad.
No.
Yeah. It's a good question.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So, welcome back to the show. Brian Karum, I have to say, like, I played this earlier part where Steven Crowder was talking about, like, don't let the wolf back in the gate when he was discussing it. You had Carl Higbie on Newsmax saying, like, the first day going, I think this is a big plan. They worked it all out beforehand. And then the next day going, I was wrong. Which is, I got to say, fairly hilarious on its own. Just that they fell for that. Go ahead.
Can I insert this?
Yes.
I think it wasn't planned at all. And I think there is a bit of activity from the president that clues you in as to how dangerous it really was. Because on Friday, they had a love fest in the Oval Office, right? That's last Friday, a week ago. And they were, it was a pleasant divorce. We're going to share the timeshare. Everybody's hunky-dory. There were two little digs. It was Donald Trump saying, hey, reminding Elon that he's an immigrant. You're our favorite immigrant. And then Elon Musk saying, look at the majesty of the Oval Office. Of the Oval Office. So he kind of got it a little, but other than that, they were really kind of cool with each other. But on Sunday, Donald Trump went to play golf. And when he came back, we did not see him in public till Wednesday afternoon, till he did his Gilligan's Island movement out on the
for the soiree.
At the soiree for named by, of course, Caroline Levitt, no doubt. But
the French don't even have a word for soiree, right? Okay.
I don't know what it is. It should never be.
They don't even know.
And it was a distant camera. There was no questions, and he didn't take a question all week until Thursday.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was pissed. He was angry, and this thing, it got to him. Because Friday he was all smiles, and we didn't see. Now everybody's going, he's sick. It's mentally ill. He's been mentally ill for years.
Yeah.
Physically, he's been physically ill for years. This was something more immediate, and I wrote about that this week. I'm pretty sure that he spent the entire week sulking, knowing damn well what's going to happen, and probably trying to figure out how to get all the listening devices out of the the White House.
I mean, you could have had, 3 days of Nixon where he's just walking around looking behind paintings and yelling about Jews. But if he, I think Nixon was on bourbon, or I don't know what his drink of choice was when he was staggering through the White House. Yeah, right. Yeah. But in the case of, here's the thing. So with Trump, I completely agree. I pointed the fact out that he was on Wednesday that he had not talked to anybody, had not done a gaggle. He finally came out afterwards when they thought they had done some sort of walk back, and he thought he was in a better power position. But everybody was talking about how they were amazed at how restrained Trump was being, right? That was the thing. And I was like, and they were like, look, him being the adult. And I'm like, nah, he's never that. So this tells me he's afraid. He's scared that there's something there. The reason you don't do, you have mutual assured destruction is you both have nukes. The reason one side feels like they can nuke the other side is they know the other side does not have nukes. You know what I mean? Trump is Japan in this situation, right? They're not worried about receiving fire of equal or greater measure. And Musk is not worried about it. And so people have been talking about how well, Musk has the money. This was an Axios. Musk has the money, but Trump has the power. Look, anybody who has all the information on you, the kind of stuff you're afraid of when you're the president of the United States, because consider what he's gotten away with in all this situation. Right. That if he's still too scared to strike back again, and by the way, his whole, he went crazy. He just lost it, which is still an out for Elon Musk if he wanted to. I was high on drugs. Sorry about that. I was messing around. That's not true. He could come back that way. This is not oh yeah, well, he's the one that introduced Jeff Zuckerberg to Jeffrey Epstein at a party, and there's plenty of pictures of him with Ghislaine Maxwell. All I did was wish her well on her way to prison, right? Both of them are a mess in this. But Trump is afraid. It comes across as genuine fear.
Well, what did he say in the gaggle last night? I wish him well. That was the last, he had a gaggle on Air Force One.
Yeah.
And he's on Air Force One, and there were two telling points in that part where, gosh, I wish him no ill will. I wish him well. Hope he comes back. But Donald Trump said the United States can get along without almost anybody except me. That's what he said.
Yeah.
That tells you exactly that's not only narcissistic rage, but a blessed lot of fear playing right there. And that's you're right. He is fearful. And never forget the fact that Donald Trump got destroyed with 2 words, and they were disgusting abomination.
Yeah.
That's it. Ooh. That's all he had to say about the one big beautiful bill. Right. Disgusting abomination. And
is what ratcheted this up.
Yeah, that's all that it took.
Yeah.
So,
and I love it. By the way, that's for the record. That is exactly what the words that run through Trump's mind whenever he passes a reflection in any surface, and that's why it drives him crazy. So I have to say, and by the way, I want to remind everybody, Brian Karum is with us. I'm glad he was joining us today. Check out his Substack and subscribe if you would, and because as the man that Trump calls Playboy. And with good reason. So on the other side, I want to grab, while we have you for the last couple of minutes of this hour, I want to bring up the Kilmar Obrego Garcia story. So this under the radar, and talk about doing this almost in secret. They brought him back to the country, and then Pam Bondi did this, this what I would say poisoned the jury pool, and then indicted him, right? Really over the top with it.
No idea.
Yes.
I mean, we know what the accusations are, but it's entirely trumped up charges. But here's the thing I love about this. They're using the accusation that they will have to prove in court as justification for getting him out of the country. And of course, it gives the MAGA supporters wonderful cover to go, see, he's a dangerous felon.
Right.
Well, first of all, he's not been convicted of anything. Right. However, there is one person in the equation who was, and that would be Donald Trump.
Right.
So when Donald Trump comes out and says that he's a law and order president, I think he's falling on the side of the criminal. That's how
look
do
at who
you
he's
call yourself
pardoning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
He's selling pardons right now. Yeah.
Exactly. So, not only is this going to be very dangerous, but I can't wait to see where this prosecution goes, because like everything else with Donald Trump, it's all BS. He wants to go after Harvard with his lawyers. I remind him Harvard has a law school that has far better lawyers than him.
Yeah.
He's not going to fare well against him. And Pam
loves
Bondi,
Harvard.
Yeah.
and Pam Bondi, I guarantee you that the defense that this young man will get is going by volunteering is going to be stronger than anything that Pam Bondi can put up. The people that kept me from losing my press pass were the best people on the planet when it comes to that type of thing. Ted Boutros, one of the best First Amendment attorneys on the planet. When you have cases like this, it draws the best and the brightest in to prove their points. Donald Trump is not going to fare well.
And there's also a couple of details I'd like to point out. That in the situation with Kilmar Borrego Garcia and the charges against him, if he is found guilty of the stuff, first of all, we were all just wanting due process in this. This was the key, and that they keep trying to say you're defending the behavior, and like, no, we're defending the system because it's what makes America first and foremost. But the other key aspect of this is that if they find him guilty, he has to go to jail here. He has to be in prison here. And even if they trump up charges and hold him and all that kind of stuff, he goes to prison here, and his sentence will be
here.
It will be here for a length of time longer than Donald Trump's presidency. And so somebody along that line could commute or pardon him and allow him back out to be with his family in the United States without him ever ending up in El Salvador again. So there's a plus even on the downside of this. Secondarily, every single charge that they brought up in her little press conference were like, according to his co-defendants. And like, well, we didn't even know he had co-defendants at this point. And secondly, why are these guys still in the country? They're all here. You didn't ship them off. Why? And so it tells me you're going, hey, you guys get to stay and serve your time here instead of us sending you to El Salvador. Right. And then we'll give you a free plane ride back to Venezuela or wherever you're from. And when this is all done, right? That's what this is. Who wouldn't take that deal and make up whatever they want? And again, they're still going to have to prove it with evidence. And it won't simply be that they all just, that's the guy. That won't work.
Well, to your point, the most important point about that you've mentioned is that it's now it was all done in secret. They make it look like they've been doing this for months. They were, but that if you had actually pursued a case against him for months, then it would have played out differently. He would have been arrested by a normal police department. He would have been detained. He would have been, after being detained, he would have been charged. He would have had the opportunity to make bail. None of that happened. All of this happened after he got back as a way for them to justify kicking him out of the country. And to your point, that's not even where he'll end up if he's and by the way, all we want is due process. If he's guilty of a crime, he's guilty of a crime.
Yeah.
But give him the due process that's afforded to everyone in the Constitution.
Yes, and there are two aspects of this. One is, if he's guilty of a crime in the United States, he should serve his time here. He shouldn't just, if you kill somebody in America, you get a free flight home. Is that going to be the standard, right? That's the Trump methodology. Kill an American and we'll deport you immediately. To who? They're not going to take you and put you in prison.
Remember who this really is all about. This is Stephen Miller. This is not Donald Trump. No. Stephen Miller is the true Nazi in the woodpile. You have seen while Donald Trump is sitting there arguing with Elon Musk, he's sitting there griping about the fact Stephen Miller is about the fact that there aren't enough ICE arrests. So what do you see while they're arguing? ICE raids everywhere.
This
is all over the
Miller. That's right.
Stephen Miller.
Thank you so much, Brian Karum, for joining us. I greatly appreciate it, brother. I'd love to have you on again sometime. Thank you so much. And thanks for just asking the questions. All right, we'll be back right after this with Philip Bner from Kyiv. Woo. Brian, thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate it.
You, Brian.
Yeah, it was fun. Anytime.
Yeah,
I'll let you guys know. It's a tough room, you know.
It's the real thing. All right, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. I'm going to bring Phil
They
in
bought
here.
it, Brian. I think they bought everything you said.
Oh, thanks.
That's sweet. All right, cheers. There he goes. Off he goes, and then we'll bring in Phil. There you are. Hey, Phil. We see you and hear you.
Phil.
Sound good?
People were all scared when they saw Brian and they didn't see Phil. They thought, "What happened to Phil? Is he okay?"
Wrong hour. Yeah.
That's what I said. Wrong gala. Wrong gala.
So we're talking about like suddenly maggots are getting a taste of what, and I want to bring this up at the beginning of the hour with you, Phil, is suddenly maggots are getting a sense of the distrust with Starlink that the Ukrainians have had to go through.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
How you doing? Well, I'll save it. We'll save it for the. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Whoops. Yeah, so there's this New York Times article where the FSB has called China an enemy. That just came out in like their report. Let's see. I'm gonna see if I can bring it up so I can show it to you guys. Yeah, there was a. Let's see, Dink, get out of here. And I'll open this and read. Showing the reader. There we go. This would be. Here we go. Secret Russian intelligence document shows deep suspicion of China. Russia's spy hunters are increasingly worried about China's espionage, even as the two countries grow closer. In the quarters of Lubyanka, the headquarters of Russian domestic security agency known as the FSB, a secretive intelligence unit refers to China as the Chinese as the enemy. Well, I mean, I guess you would feel that way if they renamed parts of your country and gave them Chinese names like they were planning on taking them over. It'd make you a little nervous. So we'll talk about that as well, if that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah. And obviously questions from the folks. So, and then obviously for people that don't know about Operation Spiderweb, we'll give them a recap of all that stuff because we're on the radio and kind of bring that back up. And Johnny, did you follow the Operation Spiderweb? Of course, soundtrack by No Doubt, or is that one of her solo projects?
Like Spider-Man, Spiderweb?
Yeah.
No, that was No Doubt.
Was it? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Go. It's truck, and then we go these. How much time we have, Chicago?
We have 50 seconds.
Excellent. By the way, hi chat room. Hit the like while we're here, if you would. That'd be great. Also, if you haven't subscribed to On the Edge, please do so right now.
Yeah.
And of course, subscribe to Johnny's show. It's Johnny Million. It's.
Couch humping.
Sorry. There we go. There you go. I did make new AI music for all the right wingers who were dealing with the fallout with Musk. I don't know. I've got two daddies, and I don't know who I love more. Right. So.
Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid slut you're troweling out.
Puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Welcome back to the show. I want to thank Brian Karum for being on with us before. Be sure to subscribe to his Substack. And, of course, Johnny Million still with us. He's going to be farming questions for our next guest, Philip Bner, who is live from Kyiv right now, which carries increasing value as a statement because in the response to the drone attack that masterfully was pulled off, an 18-month plan by the Ukrainians inside Russia, 117 drones from multiple semi-trucks that were parked near airfields, destroying up to 40% of Russian bombers. An incredible, like a complex and impressive attack, like a game changer in war. Period. The fact that they were able to pull this off, and the fact that Zelensky had the cards dealing with this when he was in the Oval Office with Trump, when he and Vance jumped on his back. The irony that Zelensky was hiding these cards, holding his cards close to his chest about this operation at that very moment. Something they knew was in movement is incredible. Philip Bner's joining us from Kyiv. How are you, first and foremost?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, as you do,
Yeah.
being in a place where they keep trying to bomb the crap out of everywhere you are and everyone you know, which is always an issue. So if you would, catch everybody up on your perspective on Operation Spiderweb, and like how you found out about it, and what how they talk about it there. How are the people feeling about it?
I had a buddy of mine at my little craft beer place tell me about it. I was having lunch,
Right.
and I hadn't seen it yet, and he came and told me, and of course everybody was really happy about it, and people continued to be pretty happy about it. It was really well done. Even to the point now, look, I got 2 episodes coming out tomorrow on this because there's just too much to discuss about it. So I spoke to an American general, retired general, Peter Zwack, who used to be military attaché to Moscow, and I spoke to a retired SBU officer, Ukrainian intelligence officer. And so there are little bits and pieces of interesting news that come out of both of those episodes, and I won't give everything away, but one thing that I thought was really smart was that in the run-up to the launch of Operation Spiderweb, they had a bunch of drone attacks at bases closer to the Ukrainian border. And that compelled the Russians to move their aircraft farther away to these more isolated air bases, which then made them consolidate all their bombers in a handful of airfields. So they played them. The Ukrainians made the Russians dance to their tune.
Yeah.
All the bombers went to these, kind of more remote places, and then that's when they hit them with these drones that were shipped in, or assembled and kind of put together in these fake trucks that looked like they had like prefab housing, but it was all done remote. It was actually just concealing the drones, and then it was activated remotely, and they were controlled. There were controllers, but there were also AI fail safes, so that if they lost contact, that the drones would continue their mission and hit these bombers. It was just, it caught them completely by surprise. It caught the Russians completely by surprise. They were able to do all of this in the run up. It took them 18 months to put this all together. I don't think they did it with like a time frame in mind. It's not like they had, okay, we're going to do this over 18 months. And then I think they had it set up so that when the conditions were right, that they could, pull this operation. So it's completely just taken the world by storm. It's a huge shock. The Russians are still reeling from it. They've been pummeling Ukraine, but it's still the same. It's not like it's a new technique. They're just doing the same stuff, just at a slightly heightened, well, more than slightly heightened level.
Right.
They've been they took out the governor's building in Kherson. They've been absolutely pounding Kharkiv. Other towns along the river, Zaporizhia, Dnipro. They hit us here last night pretty hard with some ballistic missiles that did get through the defenses, although a Patriot battery did apparently knock down at least one of those ballistic missiles. But around the country, I think the estimate was in one night, it was over 400 drones, over 40 ballistic missiles. I mean, they're angry. The Russians are, looking for retaliation, but Ukrainians are kind of, well, what more are you going to do? Invade us again?
Yeah.
So it's not having the intended. The Ukrainians are not intimidated. They're more, feeling pride in their country that Spiderweb, Operation Spiderweb, went off so well. I mean, it was all, very well coordinated, and because the problem is for them, one of the things they wanted to make sure is that it all happened at once, because if one airbase had been struck by the drones, it could have sent a signal throughout the entire system, and they could have gone into heightened alert. So they had to hit 4 and apparently wanted to go for a 5th airfield, and it all happened at near the same time. So they caught them by surprise. They didn't get their defenses up. It was It was a masterstroke. It's a victory, another victory for Ukraine. And for some reason, the world keeps underestimating Ukrainians. I mean, we've got the Black Sea Fleet. The Black Sea Fleet is, been decimated and has been forced out of their port city. The headquarters for the Black Sea Fleet was struck by a cruise missile. They had the incursion into Kursk, which caught the Russians with their pants down. They got back all their major cities, except for Mariupol. They got back Kherson. They got back Kharkiv, and now you have this masterful covert operation that went off. It's going to be legendary. It'll be part of the history of the war when they write the war. So why is it that the world keeps saying that Ukraine is the one that is losing this war when it's Ukraine?
It's so weird.
Victory after victory after victory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and it's becoming increasingly impressive. So one of the things that stood out, and I want to get this in before the break, and of course we're farming questions from the chat room at Infotainment Wars on YouTube and on our Twitch channel as well. And I think I can even, Andrea can look in the Substack and forward them to as well. But one of the things that I thought was amazing was they also hit the Kerch Bridge with this underwater drone. And we talked about that on the show this week and on Wednesday when you joined me. And the detail that really stood out to me was that they basically did what the Israelis do when they hit a building, which is they did a door knock. They sent a bunch of air drones that were not carrying bombs, that looked like they were. They were carrying duds or were made to look like they were bomber drones. They sent these small drones all over towards the bridge, and they know that the soldiers there will shut down the bridge and fire at them with guns to knock those out of the air. And then they hit the bridge once it had been closed. So they guaranteed they would minimize or eliminate the potential for civilian casualties. The Ukrainians took this step. Not only was Operation Spiderweb masterful, but it was in 0 civilian zones. It was very dangerous for everyone involved in actually getting those trucks in. They went straight by cities and towns and all these kind of things, but they ultimately were only launched at military bases that launched bombers that had been bombing the country. It was a direct response. And then this hit on the Kerch Bridge where they're like, we want to make sure that nobody, civilian isn't driving across this bridge. Even if they're a Russian who owns property and seized Crimean territory, we don't want their kids getting killed. So we're going to make sure before we hit this bridge, which could fall over. They don't know because it's, as you've pointed out many times, the Kerch Bridge is built on silt and is eventually going to come down just because of the engineering of the thing, much less by being hit again and again and again. This was an impressive thing by the Ukrainians, specifically making sure there was no civilian traffic as best they could on the bridge before they hit it. And I don't think they get not only enough credit for Operation Spiderweb, but not enough credit for that. We'll be back right after this with more Philip Bner and your questions. Johnny, I know you have some questions already for Phil. And then I want to talk about a couple of stories, not the least of which is that the Ukrainians hit a giant column transporting stuff, and the New York Times of trains transporting trucks and ammunition wiped it out. And then the New York Times releasing this secret Russian document that they got their hands on. We'll be back right after this. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
We are back in 20.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. So, one of the stories that broke kind of this morning, which is pretty impressive. And by the way, happy Prince's birthday to everyone who celebrates. He's sorely missed all these years, but it's a music holiday. So listen to some music later on today to clear the palate of all this kind of weirdness, awful and obtuse nonsense going on. But there was the article from the New York Times says secret Russian intelligence document shows deep suspicion of China. Russia's spy hunters are increasingly worried about China's espionage, even as the two countries grow closer. Now, I dispute the grow closer part because I think they're as close as they are ever going to get, and that it's actually started really to reverse, if I got to be completely honest. But in this, in the corridors of Lubyanka, the headquarters of Russia's domestic security agency known as the FSB, their version of the CIA, a secretive intelligence unit, or is the FSB, would they be the FBI?
It'd be more like the FBI.
Okay, yeah, so they're internal
they're
to that.
They're domestic.
Right.
GRU is military. GRU would probably be the equivalent of the CIA.
Gotcha. Okay. So the FSB, and this is because they're worried about these, internal, espionage happening from China in terms of corporate espionage. God knows if they have an issue with fentanyl precursors and other stuff like we do with them. But this unit, which was not previously been disclosed, has warned that China is a serious threat to Russian security. Its officers say that Beijing is increasingly trying to recruit Russian spies and get its hands on sensitive military technology, at times by luring disaffected Russian scientists. The intelligence officers say that China is spying on Russian military operations in Ukraine to learn about Western weapons and warfare. They fear that Chinese academics are laying the groundwork to make claims on Russian territory. Now, we had talked about this over a year ago when China renamed areas that it had lost during the Russo-China war back to the Chinese names of those territories. In Chinese maps, they are now calling that old territory under these names. I guess this is where Trump got the idea for the Gulf of America from, perhaps. But this is a major part of this. I guess the big question is, does Russia, like Trump, do they really have any friends in the world at all?
The Russians? No, I mean, maybe Belarus, maybe Lukashenko. Right. The Serbs. The Serbs still have a soft spot in their heart for Moscow. But no, look, there's no love lost between Moscow and Beijing. They've had clashes throughout the centuries. There's a lot of disputed territory along their border regions. So, this should come as a surprise to absolutely no one. Mm-hmm. The only reason why China and Russia have kind of an agreement right now of friendship is because they're trying to gang up against us.
Right.
And by us, I mean the West.
Yeah.
So, they would turn on one another at a heartbeat if it weren't that they had a common enemy in the West.
Yeah.
in the form of the West.
That's right. Putin believes that, again, continuing from this guy from the Carnegie Russia Eurasia Center who reviewed the documents that the New York Times had. He says Putin believes he can go much deeper into this Chinese embrace, and it's not risk-free, but it's worth it. But we also see that there are people within the system who are skeptical of that approach. And I would argue, I understand where that guy's coming from, and it's kind of like a response from like 10, 15 years ago, honestly. But currently, Putin doesn't really have much of a choice. If you're farming fighters from North Korea and the only consumer goods you're getting in the world are coming from China, almost singularly. There's maybe some textiles from India, but most of what's coming into the country that's filling up stores is Chinese stuff the U.S. isn't buying right now. And that's one of the only things that's like placating the populace. That I don't know that he has an option. Let's grab some of the questions, right? Let's grab some of the questions, Johnny. What do we have first for Phil?
Right on. So the first one I've got is from Papa Soup. This is, with the uncertainty of the U.S. support, the EU support's becoming more important. What are your thoughts on how prepared Ukraine continues to be to prosecute this war?
Oh, they can fight well into 2026. No problem. They're producing about internally, domestically here within Ukraine. They're producing enough weapons and ammo for about 40% of their war effort. The Europeans are going to be stepping it up because the U.S. is no longer reliable, so they'll be aiding that. And then there's stuff that's been sent here previously that is still here. I mean, from the Biden administration time. So, yeah, the Ukrainians have more than enough fighting capacity to continue into 2026. And then by the time we do get into 2026, will that production line be ramped up? I mean, there's a Rheinmetall, the German arms supplier. They're building 4 factories here, 2 of which I believe are on plan to be up and running by the end of this year. And then the other ones, I think, stagger out. One's in 2026, and the other one, I think, jumps to 2028. Regardless, if the Germans are building arms factories in Ukraine with that long-term projection, then they're looking at being in this for the long haul. So I think Ukraine has more than enough ability to keep fighting for quite some time.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to bring up that months after we had heard that Ukraine was getting out of Kursk, or that the Russians had driven them out. Remember that whole story where it was basically like over and they're retreating back? Never happened, by the way. I would like to say all fake news. Never happened. Didn't occur. The Ukrainians have still managed to stay there. And yesterday, the Ukrainians downed a fighter jet in Kursk, meaning they have anti-aircraft batteries now inside Russian territory.
Well, that looks like that might have been the first air-to-air.
It was an air-to-air. All right, so they've got. Wait, so they have air superiority in Kursk?
They used an F-16. If we're talking about the same incident,
yeah, I think so.
Su-35, I think it was.
That's right.
Sukhoi 35, which is their 5th generation jet, was shot, according to Ukrainian military releases, that they was shot down by an F-16, which is a 4th generation fighter jet. But this is the first documented air-to-air interaction.
Gotcha. Because I haven't seen all the information is that they shot down an Su-35, but they said details of the operation were not disclosed. So I was assuming it was a ground force. But if they've got airplanes flying into Russian territory safely and shooting down, oh my God!
I haven't seen that documented by the Ukrainians. I think it may have been in Ukrainian airspace in Sumy on the other side of the Ukrainian border, and shot into Kursk. And
that's possible.
Su-35 again, if we're talking about the same incident, which I think we are.
I think we are.
Those 35s don't go down that often.
Yes, and I'm fairly certain.
It's another amazing move for the Ukrainians, and somehow they don't have the cards.
They also took down a gas platform in the Black Sea, and set it on fire. I think this was, saboteurs essentially going out there, for all we know, in rowboats. But it's on fire currently. I think still burning. Now it is it's spewing gas into the air. So it's one of those things that I would imagine you'd need more than a couple of firefighters to put that out. And I think Russia has sent most of its firefighters to fight fire with fire in Ukraine. So I don't know if anybody's coming to rescue that thing anytime soon. Let's grab another question so we get a couple in before the break.
Nice. I've only got a couple left, guys. So if you want to chime in soon, I've got one from I Am Tech. And this is for both Hal and Phil, could the timing of the spider web and the Elon Trump breakout be linked? They both speak to Putin. Could it be he's realizing he doesn't have as much use for Trump as before?
I mean, I don't think spider web happened as a result of this brewing fallout between Elon and Trump. I think the other might be possible in that Trump was not in the loop when it came to spiderweb, so he couldn't tell his buddy Putin. So how much more usefulness does Trump have if the world has recognized, and the Ukrainians in particular, that they can't trust him, so they're not talking to him, so he's not a source of information for Putin? And why not use Elon as the instrument to attack? I don't know. I mean, we're not gonna know, but I could see that being the casus belli.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of just open vulnerabilities that are being exploited in certain situations. But I think the Ukrainians just understood that if this is going to continue on, they've got certain strategic things they have to do, and one of them is to stop the bombing. And they only have a few options for being able to do that. And Operation Spiderweb was one of the most extraordinary plots to limit the bombing capacity of Russia, because they still got to fly their bombers over all the territory they hold and over Chechnya and other places. They have their like nuclear cycle. They have to keep a certain number of them in the air, just like we do, just in case. That's a leftover from the Cold War that still exists. So it's the Ukrainians may very well hit almost every one of those bombers that was on the ground at the time. The other question is, and I think this is the one. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, and also apparently they had active ammunition missiles on the planes, because we are learning that the Russians had intended to launch some sort of major air attack. And so they actually had already put missiles on. So you see them cooking off and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were pre-armed. They don't normally do that. Right. I would also make the point that if you're Vladimir Putin right now, do you fully trust that there aren't other trucks like those parked everywhere? Do you think they used them all at once? Do you think this is a single phase situation? Do you think the other trucks look like the same kind of trucks? They didn't build secondary backups that just look like camper vans or something like that, to do smaller ones close to the Kremlin? Are you not checking the trunk of every limousine nearby? I mean, think of all the ways that it was ingenious how they put together these trucks so that the top would slide open, they would transmit directly from them. Some of them flew directly out under control of operators. Others were ejected into the sky before so that they could get higher, so they had a longer glide path so that they could reach deeper into the airfields they were striking and make sure they had the range. It's incredible. So do you think they just stopped there? Yeah. Would you? Would anybody just stop there? Would you go, okay, we're going to do this. We should do, if you're going to do phase one, go big or go home. What's phase two of this version look like?
It's all a part of a policy that the Ukrainians are calling target the archers, not the arrows. So instead of knocking the missiles as they're coming in, kill the source of it. So hit the planes that launched these missiles.
And if you're Vladimir Putin, you've spent a very long time convincing people that you are the king archer on the chessboard. Yep. You are the rook of archers, or what have you, or the queen of archers, I guess, for maximum movability and the ability to hide behind anybody you want. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Be sure to subscribe to On the Edge, Philip Bner's show, and we'll be back right after this.
The sun is setting.
Aw. How isn't it romantic? There's a French company that's going to start building drones in Ukraine. They signed a deal to make their own drones there, and thereby their business deal allows Ukraine to build up their production capacity with that factory and make some for themselves and sell the others. And yeah.
Yep. Well, they clearly lead the world in drone technology.
Welcome back
They're
to the
one of
Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
With a report that we are approaching, and I don't even know if we're technically near the number or not, of 1 million casualties on the Russian side of this war. We're right at it. It's got to be this week. We're going to come up on that. And a report that from some of the mill bloggers that the Russians are using cardboard coffins now because they've literally run out of the materials. I mean, how do you run out of wood to bury your dead? It's just horrifying. And again, this is a situation where we've talked about this. They have mobile crematoriums. They've had them running the entirety of this war. They don't want people returning, if they're mangled or whatever, because the family will get money. So if they could just go, we think he deserted, they don't have to pay the family anything. And a single incident of that would bring down the top brass of the U.S. military. Even with Trump in charge, it would bring down everybody. But it happens hourly in Russia. It's just brutal. Johnny, we got another question for Phil from the chat room.
I sure do. And this was kind of answered before, but this is from Rob Hersey. Ask Philip if Ukraine can hold out until Trump is no longer president.
Yes. Obviously, we also have to consider the midterms. Even now, you've got the Lindsey Graham Blumenthal bill in the Senate, which would ramp up sanctions. So, there's going to be activity. I think the Ukrainians can outlast Trump, certainly. Yeah.
Right. And that they not only ramp up sanctions against Russia, but against China or any other company that buys oil from Russia, which is big ratchet. It's a big ratchet. The secondary sanctions on it are enormous. Right. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
No, you're totally good. I've got one from Grumpy Cat. Please ask why would Putin offer Musk political asylum and facilitate a Trump-Musk peace deal?
Because Musk is compromised.
Because he speaks Russian and he gets all of his aluminum for his cars from Russia, and they ship it directly to China. That's one of the biggest throughputs of materials on Earth right now. That isn't oil or gas or coal, is the shipment of aluminum for electric cars from Russia to China, and his gigafactory relies on them. But also, I think they're just trolling. I think, it was Medvedev who said it first, and a couple others kind of jumped in behind it, and he was obviously sauced at the time. And so the idea that, we'll give him asylum. He wants to come over here. Sure, we can hook up a thing. We need some new rockets, whatever. They'll do their own version of, I don't know how you say Operation Paperclip in Russian, but I'm sure that they thought about it. And then, go for it, Johnny. Do we have another one?
I think you're right there.
I've got one from, I think this is from our Andrea. Ask about the hacked Russian nuclear plans.
Yeah, so that, the nuclear plans. I'm not quite sure what that's in relation to.
I haven't heard about any hacked nuclear plans.
Yeah, so I do think, I know what they're talking about. Hold on, I'll see if I can bring it up in that regard. Jump to the next one.
Is this
so
the
jump
idea
into the
that
next
they're
one.
not
This one's
going
from
to
Mr. Hobbs. Any guess on who would take over for Putin if he were to unexpectedly die now?
Oof. In the immediate term, it would probably be Patrushev, his former head of Security Council. Could be Patrushev. Could be Lavrov, the foreign minister, but this is again all in the if he were to suddenly just drop dead, somebody would have to be head of state, and so this is what I'm suggesting. But long term, as to who would replace him as president of the Russian Federation for for permanency. I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem is that he is
It's Trump's problem too.
He's hobbled. Yeah, it's exactly Trump's problem. He's hobbled everybody who would be a potential risk to him on
That's right.
purpose. And so now you have kind of these jokes. I mean, Medvedev won't do it. I don't think. But again, like long term, there's nobody on the political landscape because he personally has gone out of his way to
eliminate them all. Right. Here's what I think they were talking about in this regard. Because when they said Russian nuclear plans, I thought they meant like schematics or whatever. There was this the plan to like build up their nuclear stockpile and all this kind of stuff was leaked. So they were going to modernize their entire fleet, and it was a massive tranche of over 2 million documents found in a public database sheds light on Russia's expansion and modernization of its highly sensitive nuclear weapons complex. Danwatch and Der Spiegel reported on Wednesday. The files include detailed blueprints of the Strategic Missile Force's bases near the Orenburg region of Yasny. The two bases are equipped with Avangard hypersonic glide vehicle, one of Russia's most advanced nuclear delivery systems. Until now, we've only been able to monitor these bases from above using satellite imagery. Now, with the help of these unique drawings, we can see for the first time get inside the buildings all the way to the underground. It's completely unprecedented. This is a huge deal. Yeah, this is major. And the issue that I think it pointed out was, material like this is the ultimate intelligence, says Philip Ingram, a former colonel in the British Army Intelligence Corps. If you can understand how the electricity is conducted or where the water comes from, you can see how the different things are connected in the systems, and you can identify strengths and weaknesses and find a weak point to attack. This is one of the reasons why, like, Trump doesn't understand why you don't talk about why the bridge is where it is on a supercarrier, because you can extrapolate a lot of other things from that, like how the magnet system works in it, the maglev system to move the planes. You just don't talk about any of it because anybody with any engineering starts going, okay, if we moved it to here, what would we have to do with the other stuff we know has to be on a ship? So you can extrapolate the layout from very little details. This is all the details, and it is a huge thing right now. And this, the fact that it was leaked. And again, unprecedented security breach. They posted these things on an unsecure server. And is that because they sent the guy who knew how to run things to the front lines and cooked him off? Because that seems increasingly like what has happened.
Yeah. Well, it's the same old thing the Russians always do. They're so short-sighted that they think putting, a nuclear security expert on the front line with an AK-47 is the best use of his talents and abilities.
Yeah.
They've always done this kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, this is a hell of a breach.
So this is, up till now, all they had was like images like I'm showing on screen right now, which is just, view from the top. Now they have the actual breakout of like where the rooms are, the designs, the blueprints for the entire facility. They can map out and three-dimensionally show the entirety of the system. It's enormous. This was particularly enormous. It wasn't of the missiles themselves or their hypersonic missiles, but the launch sites and the buildings and where they are. And again, I want to say it was 10,000 documents.
This reeks of a domestic internal, somebody disaffected. There has to have been some sort of, some Russian.
This is a kneecapping moment.
Whatever motivation. Yeah. This is, I don't think, well, we don't know, but I'd be willing to bet that this was some Russian who is ticked off about the war doing this. I don't think it was a external intelligence service that like broke into them. I think this looks to me like somebody ticked off at the war.
I would think so too, except and that would be my immediate go-to previous to the war. But now that the war's there, we realize just how stupid some of the people that they put in charge of things are, and the like low there's a scene in The Saint, which is one of my favorite Val Kilmer movies, and totally got slept on, where he's breaking into this vault in the top of the Kremlin where these guys are, and he goes up and he pulls out his little special knife to break into the lock, and he touches the window and it just opens like it's not locked at all, and he's like, I love this country. And that's because people don't care. There's an element to this in Chinese culture and in the Chinese government that happens a lot called chabuduo. Chabuduo means good enough, which is really just, it's all right, it'll work. And it's not. And that's how you end up with missiles with water where the fuel should be. That's a big thing. So, we got a couple minutes before the next break. Johnny, what do you got?
I've got... I don't know who this is from. This might be from Andrea again. For Hal, why do we have a punishment for treason if we make excuses for not using it?
I mean, it's because usually when in the past, and we've used it. Look at the Rosenbergs, I guess. We've used it in the past. The problem is right now, the people who are guilty of it are in charge. And so they are covering for them. It is seen as an active function of the current administration, not treason in and of itself, because in Trump's thinking, this puts America first by serving it up, as the first course in the meal that the Russian and Middle Eastern oligarchs of the world would eat, at the giant pig banquet that they're all sitting at. I did want to bring up one thing before we go to the next break, and I wanted to talk about this, was that I mentioned in the first hour when we were talking with our dear friend Brian Karum, this whole thing about the Doge guys being fish hooks in the Trump administration, and the White House security staff warning about Starlink being a security risk. And it seems to me that the maggots inside the White House are getting a taste of what Elon Musk has put the Ukrainians through with this distrust of Starlink all of a sudden, and recognizing that, hey, maybe we shouldn't have let this guy, trusted this guy with our communications, especially as wide open as it is. And even this little piece that I read about how easy it is to send packets of information through Starlink, you could argue that Russian saboteurs or other people working in the government would be able to operate under the cover of Starlink, being able to upload details because you can send it. It doesn't require any record or tracking in it. So even if the Ukrainians wanted to know something had been uploaded via Starlink and sent to Russia, there's no real way to track it because it's meant to be sort of a privacy-based consumer device. And so it's sold on this idea, that you can, watch all the Pornhub you want and nobody will track it if you live in Utah. And that's basically the audience for Starlink. And so in using it in a military situation or in something dealing with really mission critical details, that's not necessarily a good thing, especially in the White House where you're required to keep records of stuff. The Ukrainians, have been kind of, I guess they don't have many options when it comes to, other satellite systems to use. And that was the thing about Starlink, but that Musk could turn it off.
There's a French system. There's a French system that they've been trying to wean themselves. Well, they're trying to transition off of Starlink and onto this French platform. So, but yeah, they don't trust Starlink at all for a variety of reasons, not least of which because it can be, Musk can be fickle. I mean, we all remember the first year of the war when they were launching a naval drone attack, and Musk shut off the Starlink right as they were positioning themselves for an attack. So they haven't trusted Starlink for a long time.
Yeah, and right now there's this a story, and it's rather obvious, who couldn't see this coming, but NASA and the Pentagon are looking for options to replace SpaceX. Because of if you're in the rocket program, you've got top secret information because, again, extrapolatable stuff where that, we can't launch on this date because the bombers are leaving and they go over and they're in this super high altitude that nobody can see except us. And so we have to shuffle it. And you would know that on the ground as part of the rocket program because you'd have to. And they don't want to share that information with him anymore, and rightly so. The argument is, should they have ever in the first place? But, right? But he said he was gonna dismantle the whole Dragon X thing and take his toys and go home. Like, well, then how do you, if you don't have access to that, how do you get your Starlink satellites up into the sky? Because they are low Earth orbit and they decay and they don't stay up for very long. You have to constantly keep putting new ones up there, because every week 4 or 5 of these satellites fall out of the sky. Almost, like one a day.
Well, isn't it the basic premise of Glass Onion? That these guys are not as smart as they pretend to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and again, Musk, one of the big parts of this riff was his failure to put his guy at NASA in charge, right? Is that he wanted his guy in there, and Trump was like, that guy's a Democrat. And like, dude, so was Musk. What are you talking about? So are you. Yeah. At one point, when you just picked the side of the power that most benefited you. None of you actually have any principles. Are you kidding me? All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million. And, of course, our dear friend Philip Bner taking questions from our chat room. On the Edge is his show, new episodes every Sunday. Great shows lately, especially, covering some really highly personal and yet highly detailed topics. So please check it out. We'll be back right after this. By the way, I was thinking, Phil, if you, I don't know if you guys pull clips, for promo or whatever from any of those, but if you ever think there's a piece of it that you want me to like roll in like a minute long or a 30-second long piece that talks about something, I'm glad to do it. If you just want to, send it to me or yeah.
My cameraman today was berating me for not doing that more.
Yeah,
so
I understand. I have the same problem. Right.
Oh, it's a pain in the backside. But and this week was especially heavy workload because we're doing the 2 episodes instead of just the 1. So we had a lot more on our plate this week. So we'll start doing that.
And oh my God, chat room, thank you for helping us meet the goals. I've started using the super chat goal thing because I watched the thing on YouTube that you should probably do that, and it's a good thing. And we've met it 2 days in a row, and I can't thank you guys enough. It's just lovely. I'm trying to build the show up more and more, and it really helps. It's everything. So thank you guys so much for participating in the show. Our dear friend Hal Vickery, and of course M West. Oh my God. I read the beginnings of an opinion yesterday. Sorry. Russia has won the war of attrition against Ukraine and NATO. Ridiculous, no question. Step up world. I agree, M West. Just goofy. That makes zero sense. Like that, none of this. That there was an opinion that said Russian has won the war of attrition against Ukraine and NATO. It's like
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together. Whether the weather is cloudy or sunny, I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together. Whether the weather is cloudy or breezy, I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. Because isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you? Chugga chugga choo choo. Woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together. Whether the weather is cloudy or stormy, I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay!
I gotta say, I think there are 2 big things to celebrate this week that are, again, I try not to put too much schadenfreude in the happy endings. I would rather them just stand alone. You know what I mean? But with the Musk Trump jousting that's going to continue, that arguably, as much as they thought it was going to ease off, has doubled down in the last 24 hours, with Musk taking down his initial tweet and saying, I will offer an apology when there is a full dump of the Epstein files, which is by no means on anybody's work list a walk back at all. And then Operation Spiderweb being so brilliant. And again, if you are Vladimir Putin, do you think it's over? Because it's one thing to go like, we're going to retaliate. And like, hey, buddy, we're not done yet. Who says we're done? Maybe we're looking for your retaliation points and there are trucks parked near them so that, you know, we know exactly where our next target is, the hidden ones that you have. Like, maybe you're outing yourself by, okay, we got to see where they're going to fire from inside the country. So we're going to position people and you know, inside, and drones and stuff like this inside the country. And then when they do retaliate, we'll see exactly where it's coming from, and that's our next target. And we've already got stuff inside the country. That is entirely possible. And even if they haven't done it yet, that, you know, the idea that they won't, or that Putin can even trust that they aren't going to, this is a level of paranoia that, like I said, is what's happening in the White House right now. That's got to be going on in the White House. There's no way the White House isn't having the, you know, like Office of Personnel and Management bringing in every Doge person for a sit down. And you know, if you think they were just given lie detector tests around Pete Hegseth's bro camp, wait till they start trying to figure out who's still communicating with Musk and who owes him a big favor. You know who I owe a big favor? People in our chat room who super chatted and supported the show, and the people who gave us a hype train on that, because you guys are lovely, and thank you so much. I can't stand it. Okay. And Johnny, I don't know if you have a happy ending that you want to add to it. I don't want to step on that.
No current happy ending, but I did have Foster on my lap for about half an hour during the show. And
Saw
that.
that.
Pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
that is pretty awesome. And and Phil, I think the happy ending is always a great episode last week, great episode next week, and we're gonna move you, in the direction of providing, you know, a little clip to the show that we can play during your time on here, so you can kind of seed off a part of the conversation we can have as well based on that, which I think would be terrific. Right on. And we're all grateful for the sparklers in the chat room. You guys are amazing. And the trolls. I would like to say, take a moment, if I may, before we go back to the questions, to give take a moment of silence and appreciation to the trolls out there. You guys are very silent these days because Daddy and Daddy are fighting. And it's really difficult for you having two dads in the first place, being as bigoted as you are. It's a really hard realization. But I want to thank you guys for showing up, because your eyeballs spread us out into the algorithm the way no one else can. So thanks for being suckered into hate watching the show. And everything you write in the chat room says to the algorithm, wow, not only is this show watchable, it's engaging.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Now, questions, so we can get a few out before then.
So here's one from Ed's 3D Tech. Can you ask Philip, probably if Ukrainians have considered AST Space Mobile, the cell towers in the sky, for IoT, Internet of Things?
Mm-hmm. That might be this French system that they're or this replacement system that they're looking for to wean themselves off of Starlink. I'm not 100% sure about, but I know that they've got somebody that they're contracting with to do kind of an Internet of Things rollout, and kind of not just relying on cell towers, because those could be targeted. I know that they're working on more secure, more replaceable ways of bringing the internet to the battlefield, because of course nowadays everything you got your drones, you've got comms and logistics and command and control. So yeah, I mean, I don't know about this specific system that Ed's talking about, but I know that they're certainly looking for other alternatives.
Yeah, and the problem is that, I mean, there's a mixture of it, because in Ukraine, it's a fairly advanced technological country compared even to Russia in terms of the kind of appliances people. That's why they were stealing dishwashers and stuff, because they were actually pilfering them for electronics. When in the early part of the war. One of the things I would like to point out is that, according to, and this is just from Kyiv, the Ukraine says that they only use domestically created drones in Operation Spiderweb. So they 3D printed the bodies. They put together all the motherboards that are in them. Those are all designed and made in Ukraine, which is a huge deal, because Russia gets all of theirs from the same DJI setup that China gives them. So China knows where Russia's drones are at all times. Ukraine recognized that was part of the problem and just started making their own motherboards that go into these things. It's not a huge lift, but it is impressive. And that is a major step forward in your ability to like print motherboards and be part of that supply chain in a lot of other areas. Yeah. So Johnny, what else? Yeah. What else?
So we've got one. This one's through Can't Stop Lying. I think it's Lokera. Any news on troops by Finland or wherever they were amassing?
I haven't heard anything new since the original announcement that the Russians were kind of moving things out near the Finnish border. The consensus here was that they weren't moving them to get into an offensive position to like go into Finland, but rather that it was beyond what they thought was beyond Ukraine's ability to hit them. So I haven't heard anything new about that deployment.
It's just a ratchet up.
But again,
right?
it's not. They're not going to attack Finland. That would be ridiculous. But I think they're moving stuff. They tried to move stuff out of Ukraine.
Nothing
reach,
would instantly.
Nothing's out of Ukraine's reach now.
Right, and nothing would shore up support for NATO across the country, even amongst Republicans, like an attack on a NATO country and the implications of Article 5, like if they cross that line, that is a huge difference, and everybody immediately stops going, okay, we're not gaming with your palling around with Vladimir Putin anymore. Ain't gonna happen. That's the line too far. So absolutely. And Johnny, you have another one? Yeah. Oh, thanks, Francie.
I got one more. This is from Kath Zinn. Can we ask Phil if he knows about the statue of Stalin in the Moscow subway and the BBC report on the whitewashing of Stalin's legacy in Russia?
Well, yeah. I mean, they've been doing this for a while. The Russians have absolutely. There's been an element within Russia that's been whitewashed. I mean, God, they still have Lenin in his tomb on Red Square, for goodness sake. They moved Stalin out of there. But it was actually late stage Soviet kind of policy to diminish Stalin and to kind of like come to terms with Stalin's crimes.
Right.
Post-Soviet era, in the Putin era, there's a whole movement to kind of make him into this misunderstood hero. He was forced to divide up Poland because the Western powers were angling to make Germany and the Soviet Union fight. So Stalin didn't mean to do it. He didn't, he just had no choice. I mean, it's and as far as Stalin's statue in the metro subway, I mean, that's part of it as well. They have a very odd relationship with the legacy of Stalin, and there are those obviously who are aware of how awful he was with his, head of his secret police Beria, like cruising through Moscow looking to pick up children for really bad reasons. To the old statement which is attributed to him, was it attributed to Stalin? Well, the mentality was certainly the same. One man's death is a tragedy. 100,000 deaths is a statistic. So, I mean, he killed so many of his own people. But there is this revisionist history that the Russians always do, where they try and kind of justify some of their acts. So.
Yeah, and we're getting close to the end. We have other questions. Johnny, do you have them?
That's all I got.
Okay, good, because we're right at the end.
Already,
I want to remind
yeah,
exactly. On the Edge, please check out the show. Do you want to give a teaser of what the show is in a couple seconds?
Two episodes this week, kind of unusual, marking our 50th episode. Both hours will be put out talking about Operation Spiderweb. One is with a former intelligence officer, a Ukrainian intelligence officer, and one was with a retired American general who used to be a military attaché in the U.S. Embassy. So we get to talk about Russia's kind of reaction, and we get to talk about how this was pulled off by the to the intelligence agency. So both really good episodes.
Fantastic. Thank you for being on here. Stay safe, Philip. We'll talk to you next Wednesday, and then see you on Saturday. Love you, Johnny Million. You're amazing. And pet the cats for me and say hi to Mrs. Million. And we will talk soon. You've got a fart pedal in the mail for you. It'll be there sometime soon. People, if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch last week's episode. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chicago. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks, everybody there. And we'll see you next time. Excellent.
There we go.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you so much. Be safe, Phil. Get some rest.
All right, bud.
Or some craft beer or whatever you need. And
whatever rejuvenates.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thanks, brother. There he goes. And Johnny Million, you are fantastic. And I just want to take a moment to tell you that. No, you. Pew, pew, pew. Pew, 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 pew. Let's see. What is this, Johnny? Okay, there it went. Whoop. It took a moment. You got swapped over. Look at that. Hold on. I can do this. I can do this. Give me a second. Just keep leaning. Keep leaning. Don't be afraid. I kind of like you at that cocked angle. I should rotate the thing. That'd be funny. Hey now. Get that Johnny Million rotation on there. Or wind it up with that Johnny Million curveball. Fantastic. And don't forget, July 17th, I will be in town for the Hody Bash.
So weird.
And I think you might have to be my guest for that, my friend.
Oh my goodness. July 17th, I have down as a Thursday.
Is it? I think it's whatever the Saturday. Are we on the same age?
Saturday's 19th?
19th. Maybe I'm drunk. But either way, I think it might be actually on that Thursday. And then I got the Saturday thing as we're going to do on the 19th. Right. But either way, in July, I'm going to look at this right now. You will be my guest at the Hody Bash.
Hody.
Which is a...
How do I spell Hody again?
Hodie.
Hodie.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah. So the Hody Bash is the night of the 17th, and then we'll do we'll stay through until Saturday and do the CPT show there. And then I'll take off, and that would be great. So that'll be kind of a lovely thing. And I think I have another gift for you as well, something that I've been hanging on to for a bit. But can you hang on for 1 second? Can I show you something really cool since it's Prince Day?
Hey.
Can I show you something really cool? All right, hang out right there. Talk to the chat room, but don't say anything negative about me while I'm gone. I'm very sensitive. Very sensitive. I'm very protective. Yeah. So hold on. Ouch. That hurts.
He knows it. Live streaming, drinking coffee. The cats are running around. Mrs. Million is outside gardening, so they
wow. Is this your great is this the great chit chat you do on your show that keeps everybody engaged? Live streaming, drinking coffee, blah blah blah. So
yep. Look at that. What the fuck? That's so cool.
Yeah, it's now. I can't take much credit for it because it is a knockoff, obviously, because you can't get the real thing anymore. So, but I was like, I've had this for a little bit, and I want to use it as a stage guitar or whatever. But I was like, I got it thinking it was like almost like a piece of art you hang on the wall, and that's fine because you know there's some of those like that, but it plays really well.
It does?
It's surprising. Although, I will say, it doesn't have any fret markers except the 12th and the 19th up here. Like, it's got one down here. Like, remember where the high note is? Yeah, remember where the high note is on the end solo for Let's Go Crazy? You know, that phased bend that he does? Right? It's there and there. But, like, the whole thing's just purple. So, if you're not used to the neck or it changes at all, you're like, where am I? So I think what I'm going to do is my dad, does fret stuff and he's out of the hospital. Thank you guys for asking.
Yay.
He's doing okay. It's going to be a little bit because it was rough. But I think I'm going to have him put markers on the top, like little gold dots, like drill them down and then put a little piece of brass or something in the top so that it matches. so that you could see going down, and then because he could smooth it out and make it look all nice, whatever. But I mean, it's what I love about
Get
this
well
is,
soon, Pop. Get back to work.
Yeah, Hal, answer me. So okay, real quick.
Answer me. Yeah, Dad.
Because we love my dad, and this is a unique story to you, Johnny Million. Tell everybody, if you would, I'm going to put this over here where it won't fall over, because it's very odd and it's hard to put on a regular guitar stand, as you might imagine. Tell everybody the Yeah Dad story real quick, because
we were up in your room in your house. We're 16, 17 years old, and your dad was downstairs, and I think it was like shortly after school, and he came home and he was like, "Hey, Al," and you were like, "Yeah, Dad." Long pause. Hal, yeah, Dad. And then finally, the bellowing, Hal, answer me.
Right. And what was my response?
Yeah, Dad.
Right, exactly. Just an increasing volume of saying yeah, Dad. And by the way, this was before he was like deaf in his right ear from a hunting injury, no less. Do you know that? You know why my dad?
No.
My dad was walking in the snow. He was duck hunting or something like that, and I think they were like maybe it was geese, and he fell and he put his hand out to stop himself, and the snow was deep or whatever, and a stick went in his ear, like perfect.
Jeez and crows, sticks are not supposed to go in there.
No, they're not. And they punctured his eardrum, and he had vertigo for a while, and
I bet.
Yeah,
don't
and
fuck
then
with the inner ear.
No, once it healed up, he still uses a hearing aid in that ear, but he got a cochlear implant. So the back on this one. So and the funny thing is, it's supposed to be so you don't need it, which is very helpful if you need to talk to him. He still hears about as well as he did in high school when it's my voice. I don't know what it is, but the cochlear implant is weird because you have to get used to listening to certain tones. So music sounds different because it's it's bone conductive, right? And it's way more bass, for example, is what happens. It gets rumbly. So he just puts his regular regular hearing aid in, and it works like a tweeter to the woofer that's on attached to his head. And he's got like this broad spectrum sound thing. He's got surround sound built into his skull now. It's adorable.
That's so great. Yeah. Hang on, let me put in my Dolby.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Doubly. It's like something you put.
Doubly.
Like conditioner for your hair.
You know what she means.
Anyways, you're wonderful. I'll let you go. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna watch A Mighty Wind some point this weekend.
No, that's a good idea. I'm gonna watch Purple Rain tonight. And okay, real quick, and I'll ask the chat room this, and I'll let you go. But you've played Prince songs with a couple of the bands you've been in. Like I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man. I think you did. Right? Which is a great one.
I love that song. The solo is so fun.
Yeah, and then If I Was Your Girlfriend has always been one of my favorite songs. I love being told by the young'uns that I have an old-fashioned view of masculinity and femininity, and I'm like, simmer down. Do you know the lyrics to If I Was Your Girlfriend? Then shut your mouth and step aside, young'un with your gender studies degree. You don't know nothing about us long hairs. You don't know nothing. Everything's a brand or a label.
Step aside. I think of the weird bonus tracks that were on Eddie Murphy's first comedy album. Step aside, my friend, because I've been doing this for years.
Yes. So, boogie in your butt. Hey, man, I ain't putting no boogie in nobody's butt. That's nasty, man. Boogie in your butt. And then his like Richard Simmons song Enough is Enough.
Enough is enough is enough.
Right. Where he's basically he's doing a dance song as basically his Richard Simmons character.
Yeah.
CSL's like, yep, had that one back then too. But what's your favorite Prince song? Like, and I don't think you have to pick one because there's so many, but like one that keeps coming back to you or that means a lot. Everybody knows my history with Sometimes It Snows in April, so I won't bring that one up again. But
right. He's got so many different eras, but like some of the deep cuts from Sign of the Times.
Mm-hmm. The Cross.
Like, the title track, but let me look at it. I know that there's one that keeps calling me back.
The Cross is one that comes back,
Yeah, I was thinking of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Sign of the Times. Oh my God, the first result is a Harry
Black
Styles song.
days,
Jesus Christ.
stormy nights, no
Oh, right.
love, no hope in sight. Don't cry, for he's coming. Don't die without
Housequake
knowing
makes me
the
so happy.
cross.
How many
Oh, yeah.
people here know about the Quake?
Quake.
We do.
We do.
No, really. We do. No,
Bullshit.
really. Shut
Damn.
up already.
Damn. Yeah. Which, by the way, has the same kind of drum track as Kiss. That there's that. Man, the Lindrum.
Hot thing.
Yeah, everybody else wants to Lindrum, and there are only two people that can do it. Only two people can Lindrum, ladies and gentlemen. Phil Collins.
And actually,
Right.
Joe
And then-
Satriani has some Lindrums on his first album, the one before
Right.
Surfing with an Alien.
But the clap on that's on the Lindrum, Prince owns it forever. Nobody gets to use that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is the single greatest like drum note from a drum machine ever, and nobody can have it. Prince owns it. Like he laid claim to that thing. And do you know he would tune the Lindrum, like he would run it through processors and stuff like that, so nobody could recreate exactly his noise.
Right, it wasn't the exact sample.
You put it in, you're like, what the hell? And he's like, oh, he's got the second tom going out to a pitch shifter, just lowering it ever so slightly, so it gives it a little like odd like pressure against the other ones, and that's what makes it have dynamism. Such a smart dude. God damn, I miss him.
I also just love anything that he sang as the character Camille.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Sometimes It Snows in April and anything. I mean, Mountains. Mountains is a great song off of the Under the Cherry Moon soundtrack. It's only mountains.
Oh yeah.
And the sea. Right? Oh.
I think Housequake is a Camille song. So is Strange Relationship.
Like I gotta say, like when Rave Against the Raven to the Joy Fantastic, like that outfit, I was like, damn, I wish I could fit into that outfit. That's a sweet. I would wear that all the time. That's pretty, that blue neck suit, body suit thing. Like, damn, son.
He looked pretty badass then.
Yeah, just like incredible. Even the Batman, CSL's like, even the Batman soundtrack was nice. Man was ridiculously talented. Yeah, and he did that all by himself. That was the one of the other things about the Batman soundtrack was he was basically alone. He did some background vocal people coming in, but every instrument, that was at the height of he plays everything thing, including the drums. There are a bunch of videos, and I don't know if you've watched them online, Johnny Million, and I would recommend maybe as part of your stream as an inspiration thing.
What do I need to do?
You play a video, like, you know how I comment on videos? Post get a little window up where you can post and comment on a video, and go to like the stories of like, what's his name, who played on Michael Jackson's Beat It and all this stuff.
Steve Lukather?
Yeah, Steve Lukather's videos about talking about playing on that is amazing. Like the conversations, because Eddie did the solo before Lukather's guitar was on there. It was like all synth and horns.
Yeah, and he went back and forth
out
with the producer whose name is escaping me. And he said that like he really wanted it to be more rock than what he put down. And the producer was like, yeah, no, this is not a rock and roll song. This is a dance song. You're going to need to dial that rhythm guitar back a bit. Did I lose you? I can't hear you. That's the internet telling us to shut up already. Damn. I mean, ready. How many people hearing about the quake? We do. If you can't see what your hand is, your hand's below the camera view. It's like, you're like, hang on a sec. Nothing, honey. No, that's it. The ghost of Prince just came in and said, shut up already. Now you're trying to make me be quiet, but they can hear me. Nope, still don't hear you. Still don't hear you. Nope, nope.
Well, this is fun.
There you are.
Oh, I am? I'm frozen, though.
Yeah, you are frozen.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm running.
Yeah. Hold on. It should pop back up in a second. It usually remedies after a second or two. Let's go back to guest here.
No love.
Ain't
got nobody.
Waiting at home.
All I've got, I had to steal.
I don't know what happened there. Hold on. I got it fixed. I go back to, there we are. Hey, I had to switch cameras. It just freaked out. Hi. And then you can hear me as well? Yes? Okay, good. I don't know what that was.
I can hear you.
Literally, all my screens started shuffling. I think the Doge guys got very upset. Johnny.
I think it was Prince.
You think the ghost of Prince was saying, shut up already. Damn.
Damn.
So for today, I'm going to go with Mountains. If anybody hasn't heard the song Mountains off of the Under the Cherry Moon soundtrack, that's one of those songs that keeps coming back around for me.
Also known as Parade.
Yes, Parade, right, yes. But to me, it's, and
AKA Parade.
Thank you for that. That's good. All right. Anyways, love you. I'm going to go.
I do a lot of that on my stream.
Burping?
Mm-hmm.
That's not surprising at
It
all.
usually sounds about like that.
Does it? Oh, I did it again. Something's up. I'm being attacked, clearly. All right. I've got way too many windows open. That's what's happening.
All right, I'm going to go let Mrs. Millie know that I have not descended into madness in here.
You have too. Don't lie.
Shush. I'm going to go lie to Mrs. Million is what I'm telling you.
I know. I'll tell you why. Because I have 900 tabs open from all the stories we were doing. That's why. That's what happened. It was like, I just shut down like my Safari things. And it was just like, all right. Bye. See you later, Johnny Million. You're awesome.
Bye. Love you, Hal.
Love you. Bye. Okay, there he goes. And chat room. There you go. Somebody saying Purple Rain. And yep, I'm back. It was so weird. I don't know, it's something I'm gonna have to remedy at some point. Yeah, system overload, totally. Frozen Hal. So let me hear chat room, if I may, before I F off for the day. Favorite Prince song? Too many drones. That's right. If you haven't heard Let's Go Crazy, okay, excellent. Always a good choice. I would argue that Manic Monday and 1999 are very similar in songs. Aw, and look, just in time. Kitty, you're leaving, so you'll hand off the kitty to me? Okay, we will hand off. We're doing kitty handoff. Hi, buddy. Hi, the boy. How the boy doing? How the boy doing? I know. You want to say hi? Okay, well, here. I know you want to lie down. Okay, here you go. There you go. There he is. That's his little spot. I want to attack the microphone. I've already had enough audio problems. You can't attack it, good boy. Hi, buddy. Yeah. You have a hair on your face. There you go. It's a boy. Somebody just ate. She just gave him a churro or a snack. I can tell. Yeah. 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 He's a little one. He's a little one. Purple Rain. Okay, there we go. This is Bucky. When Doves Cry is great. There's no bass in it, which was a big deal. Controversy. Always fantastic. Blue Light. Oh, there we go. She's a kitty. There he is. Hi, buddy. Yeah. Little Red Corvette is dirty. Is a dirty song. I Would Die For You is fantastic. Raspberry Beret, always terrific. You know what I love off Around the World in a Day? The Ladder. And, The Ladder and Around the World in a Day, the actual song. Like, Pop Life was the single on it, but yeah. Paisley Park is also on that. Yep. Delirious. I get delirious. Whenever you... Erotic City's fantastic. DMSR, Dance, Music, Sex, Romance, fantastic song. It is a dirty song, but you love it. I do. My Name is Prince, yep. And I'm Funky. Hi, are you get my hair? What are you doing? You attacking my hair? He loves being carried around, and he loves being cradled. I love this cat. This is fantastic. Yes, and you're a problem child. Yes, you are, because you're precious. And you're scrumptious. You got the look is Drake. Yeah, Sign of the Times. Positivity is terrific. Yeah, you saw Prince in Cincinnati. That's amazing. Nothing Compares to You. Yes, his earliest version is the best one. The later ones, like I think he felt that like it was one of the few songs he wrote that where he felt like Sinead O'Connor's version was better. He would talk about it, but the original demo of it, which is now available online, if you want to go look it up, is very close. It's just got more of a da 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 turnaround on it. Hi, where you going? What are you doing? I gotta get the mic. He touched it. He muted it. The cat muted it. Cam just took him. So there we go. I want to be your lover. It's amazing. Yes, Pussy Control is fantastic. I once almost got into a road rage incident because I was singing it behind the wheel of my car and somebody thought I was swearing at them. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and motherfucking girls. This is your captain with no name speaking, and I'm here to rock your world. About a tale that will soon be classic. About a woman you already know. No prostitute, she just the mayor of your brain. Pussy Control, be ready. Ah, Pussy Control. Yeah, I know it. I know it by heart. Yeah, 7 is amazing. Like, 7 is a slept-on song. Oh, 7, and we'll watch them fall. We'll stand in the way of love and we will smoke them all with their intellect and their savoir-faire. Right? Hey, look at that. NSFW, right. Excellent. Let's see. Somebody's like, that. You need painkillers that night. That's just sad. Yeah, the Beautiful Ones is fantastic. Beautiful Ones is amazing. You lost my vocals because my cat tapped the mute button on the top of the microphone. All right, I'm going to get off here before my entire system just smokes because I literally had to switch cameras in this thing because my other one just ceased to work. I don't know what the heck. At one point, all my monitors were shuffling. Like that was crazy. I don't even know. Yeah, on that camera, I'm still... Hold on, let's see if I'm in here, if I can switch it back. Sometimes I have to go in there and switch it to this guy. What? Uh-oh, he's on your back. Oh, no. Don't move, he's going to jump to the trash can. It's going to happen. Stay still, don't move. Don't move, you're fine. My back hurts. I know. What are you doing, silly boy? He was like, nah, I'm here for the duration. That was so funny. He climbed up on Camden's back, and so Camden bent over and was like completely laid in half so that the cat was sitting on his back, and he's like, I can't move because he's there. Super cute. So, yeah, did it start back? Yeah, no, that camera is still just out. I think I might have to replace it. It's a shame. Dagnabbit? Yeah, no video signal at all now. Just being a jerk. It's one of those things where like the only option is to unplug it and plug it again, which with a USB-C cable, can I say, is a pain in the tuchus. Yeah, annoying. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go. We've fooled around long enough. Let's get serious about getting out of here.
Couch humping, jumping, feel the beat, take it higher, can't retreat. Feel the rhythm, can't deny, couch humping.
I'm kidding. Off we go. Thank you guys for all the help today. Amazing. Really appreciate it. Warms my heart. There's no words. Love you guys.